Okay, so let's welcome Byers folks, and you'll have 7 minutes to present. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Annette Tarantino, representing the Byers Water and Sanitation District, and I have Craig White with me today. He's our manager at the district, and we're presenting a water project. Oops. I don't know how to get out of that. Well, I'll start and we'll try to work around this. So our project is going to plan on putting in a secondary water line, which it had a red line here, and that might be the error. We're planning on putting in a secondary water line from our current treatment facility, which is on the south side of the Union Pacific tracks. And we want to put a new, bigger line under the tracks and then under I-70 to serve the community on the north side. Currently, our only line and the only source of water for this side of the community is an aging 6-inch asbestos line that restricts the water flow for fire safety. So we are currently insufficient as far as fire flow on this side of our community. The other big part of our project is to recoat the interior of 2 of our water tanks, and these 2, it's 2 of 5 tanks that we have. They are currently deemed unsafe by the Colorado Department of Health and Environment, and they are out of service. We were required to take those out of service in November. So those are 2 urgent needs that we see. So also, in addition to that, we have some additional lines that we'd like to put in for better system redundancy in here. We want to add 7 new fire hydrants. This would be to the other side of the tracks. So this is actually going north this direction. So the new fire hydrants on the south side of the tracks. And then we need to replace some faulty and leaky valves, some that don't work and some that are leaking, for some water savings. Our time frame and funding for the project that we're planning and hoping for at this point is we have received $1.2 million in ARPA funds for this project, and the county does see it as a big need, and they're in full support of the project. We are planning on submitting our loan application to the Drinking Water Revolving Fund, and that amount will depend on what we get with this grant. So with our hopefully loan approvals and grants, we see an urgent need to start and break ground on the project in the spring as soon as the weather allows us to do so, especially on the tanks and getting those started. These improvements will encompass all of our 20-year capital plan, and we feel that we'll get some savings, some fund savings by encompassing it all in one project and having to make one trip and have it be a better, contract for people, more attractive that way. Also saving, versus price increases down the road. So the system right now is putting us at risk of a big costly project. If that line were to break on the other side of the tracks, we would have no water, and it could be, an emergency at that point. And of course, the tanks are deficient, so they definitely have to be, repaired at this point. So our goal for the project is to ensure that we have, safety with the fire flow and the new fire hydrants to the whole community as far as that goes. With the exception of this year, we've seen the drought and how disastrous that could be, like with the Marshall fire. Probably not this year, we're hoping that we don't get fires on that side. And then also, meeting the requirements for those tanks are 2 important things for us in this project. Now, although we're a small community and a rural community, we're not incorporated. So we're part of, Arapahoe County as a whole. So we do not qualify for the bipartisan infrastructure law funds, and we won't get any other grant money. And that's why this grant money is so important to us. Without this grant money, we'll have to cut back the scope of our project. And then, we would just bring it down to whatever we could afford at the time. So we're asking for we're asking you for 26% of our project, and we're planning on meeting the rest of that through loans and our ARPA grant. We have planned on raising our rates in conjunction with this project, approximately $7.70 per customer per month with this loan that we're going to get. And that, could go up or down depending on the need. Our community has been in full support of this. So they've been in full support of accepting, some rate increases whenever we've had public meetings so far. And so our conclusion, the district wants to address all the deficiencies in one project for some savings if we're able to do so. And just how important this money is, to us, because we aren't able to qualify for the other grant money. And thank you. Can I answer any questions?
Okay, great, thank you. There might be some questions. Let's go to Trish.
Hi, neighbor. I have a few questions for you. One, I noticed you don't have any contingency on your budget, and then it also indicates that you don't have approvals or permits yet from Union Pacific. Do you have any idea like how expensive that is and the process it will take? Because I just went under UP with our system, and I mean, it's months long, and then the costs associated with the monitoring with the railroad, I don't see any of that built in your budget. And I'm concerned that your budget probably isn't covering some pretty large additional costs.
So we did increase our budget from what our original quotes were for the project to, cover some of those costs that we versus, just adding a contingency line. We did increase that some. And the original bids, they were including costs for that. As far as we haven't submitted the applications for the permits, but we do feel that because it is at risk, that they would be more supportive than an emergency, happening where we would have to go that direction.
UP is an animal.
Yes.
Trust me. I know them.
Yeah.
I am concerned about the project and its timing issue right now, because I imagine it could take about 6 months to get your permit approved. And if you haven't started, I'm just wondering if your timing's not quite there yet, but
Right.
I understand the need. And then my other question I had, the new health clinic, which side of the railroad track is that on? Is that
That's
on the north?
south.
It is on the
It's
south
on the
side.
south side
Oh,
of the track.
Okay, so if you had an emergency, that clinic could still be served.
Correct. Yes, that would still be served. Most of our businesses are on the other side of the track, but including the fire department. And we know that when the fire department fills their truck, no one else has water while they're filling it. That's how, then everybody is calling the motel, grocery store. We don't have water. When the fire department is finished, we'll be fine.
Okay, other questions? Yes, Jillian.
Can you share the age and history of your tanks, and if those tanks were put out of commission because of deferred maintenance, or can you share some information about that?
Yes, so it's the coating on the inside is failing, and they feel that, that is making the tanks unsafe. If we do it sooner than later. The structure itself is sound. So we did weigh replacing the tanks versus recoating of the tanks. And they are older tanks, but they would last longer than a new tank with the recoating. And less expensive to recoat than replace. So that was the reason we went with the coating direction.
And how old are those tanks? Do you know?
52 and 53.
Okay. And they say they're refurbishable.
Yeah, they were both original to the district. They were the first two tanks.
And have they been recoated in the past, or is this the first time?
Not for any record that I can find.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, other questions?
And just for, just for clarity on the contingency side, since Tricia brought up, the 429,000 that's being represented in the sheet, it was actually factored into the construction cost. So it was already accounted for in terms of the contingency amount that was built in. I just wanted to show it to you, but as far as the overall construction piece, I think they have built in part of their budget included some form of contingency to address, you know, these unknown items.
Yeah, we kind of included it by upping the package. And then as far as, you know, starting, if we could, you know, even start in the spring with the coating, you know, and then go forward with the pipes, all the pipes and the valves together. Once we got the permits, that could, you know, get us moving.
Other questions? I have one final question.
Yeah.
Is this the entire community of Byers, or is this a district that serves a certain area?
It's the district. So it's just the people within the Byers that are hooked onto the water system. It's about 500, give or take a few water taps. So, and it's we are self-funded, so.
So what's the population of Byers?
Oh,
They still have us around 1,000.
So this serves roughly half of the population. And where does water come from for the other half?
oh, well, that's it. So it's 500 taps, but you know, approximately 2 people per tap. So it's the whole community. It's the entire Byers community, but not the rural people that may have a Byers address, but are out on a farm. We don't go out that far. It's the little town.
Got it. Okay. Other questions? Not seeing any? Thank you, Byers.
Thank you so much.